Hey, what's up YouTube? We're back with another video today. We're going to be discussing grenades for cyborgs. I feel like the main concerns are going to be the new cyborgs, mostly unarmored infantry. They have a little bit of quirk with them, but they're mostly unarmored, and how they interact with Fox engines. As far as the rest of automatons, pretty standard kit across the board. We're still going to be touching like which nades are good against heavy armor, surge, and so on and so forth. But main concern today is how are they performing versus cyborgs and how are they performing versus Fox machines. Let's get into it. So we have Dynamite. Dynamite is kind of just like your trusty like big boom explosive. The extra destruction force is not going to be too useful to you on this front, I find, but the damage is immense and the radius is great. I do love using it, especially if you start to learn to hold your throw button, let it tick a couple times, then throw. It's a pretty damn reliable way to kill Hulks, especially if you can get it like slightly behind them. Just immense damage, very useful for just running and gunning, even versus like fabricators. You don't have to worry about throwing them inside. As far as dealing with cyborgs, it one-taps them. Unsurprising, as long as they're like fairly close, it'll one-tap them pretty reliably, which is nice. When it comes to Vox machines, obviously, if you throw it inside, it blows it up, but I do find it's a little awkward sometimes because I don't know if it's just because of a larger actual grenade. It can sometimes bounce a little bit easier. It might just be placebo or just my poor throwing skills at times with Dynamite, but that is something that I have noticed. It does seem to maybe have a larger hitbox. Not sure exactly. The other one is you only get 3. So if you miss or you have to deal with many Vox engines, it can be a bit awkward when you run out. I don't think it has quite as much utility or ease of use as Thermites, so I kind of really want to put it like A+. I don't think it quite deserves to be an S. I don't think it's doing really anything too special other than big boom, which is great, but I think there's a lot of grenades out there nowadays that have like more to throw and do along the same lines. So we're gonna keep it there for now. Next, we have frag grenades. You get 6 of them. Smaller damage, but you gain shrapnel. Shrapnel is pretty RNG. The enemy that's really gonna get the shrapnel is the enemy that is like standing on top of the grenade for the most part. Yeah, the shrapnel can like sometimes like snipe an enemy that's like 10 or so meters away from target, but it's not like a reliable thing and it's not like it does that much damage. Mostly what you're giving up versus like the high explosive is less damage per individual, and you're gaining 6 versus 4 of the particular like high explosive. You're also giving up some heavy pen versus the high explosive. That can both be good and bad for you because you get 6 if you find those droves of like small bots. It's quite nice for them. If you find berserkers, it's nice for them. If you find even the new cyborgs, great for them. Where it kind of starts to be a bit awkward is it's not going to reliably one-shot many devastators at the same time. The one that like you land at the feet of the devastator, it'll probably kill just because shrapnel plus explosive, but killing multiple, you're going to probably have to throw 2, which is a bit awkward. There are times where I like the frag grenade more so than the high explosive, and then there's going to be times where I like the high explosive more than the frag grenade. The frag grenade, obviously you're going to gain more pen and you're going to gain more boom on individual throws. So if you're more aiming for like below a bot drop, when they come in that rectangular shape, I find the high explosive performs better when you throw it right in the middle. With the frag, you almost want to throw it 1 on each side to really cause enough damage. And if there's anything higher pen requirement, like a Hulk, you're not doing any damage to it, right? Unless you get kind of lucky and it blows up like pretty somewhat far away from the radiator, so it has like the right angle to hit it, but unlikely to really do any significant damage. I think the 2 are pretty interchangeable. It's just, do you prefer to have more frag grenades or more high explosive? Versus Vox, it's exactly the same, more or less. It feels exactly the same. You get 6 though with the frag grenade, and 6 is better for more fabricators, so maybe that you appreciate that more. But let me know down below which one you would maybe prefer. I think they're pretty interchangeable, just like depends on what you would like out of your grenade, which is a good thing. Next, we have the Incendiary. Solid. I do like it. It is nice for bot drops, especially for those particular like droves and droves of cyborgs. You know, they're not going to die in one instance of fire, but they're going to definitely be a lot weaker dealing with them. If you can get the explosive under and then the fire to land on them, which is pretty consistent if the explosion happens on them, a lot of enemies will just outright die from, which is nice, but you're sitting there more watching them die instead of just immediately dying. So where you're going to get most of your value is maybe more enemies that weren't there for the original explosion to potentially die as well, which is nice. They did increase the duration of the fire on the ground some months ago, which is another reason why, I'm valuing it more. Next, we have the arc grenade. Man, this one I so badly want to put an S tier, but it doesn't quite deserve to be there. And you'll be like, what? I never see anyone use this grenade. It's terrible. I feel like the main reason people think it's terrible is because the kill counter is bugged on it. If it gets kills, it doesn't track it at all most of the time. I don't think I've really seen it ever properly work since its inception. But the arc grenade is actually really good and recently got 5 grenades instead of 4. The positives of it is that it just continuously bounces. I believe it does 5 total explosions before it putters out. It can do a stupid amount of damage in that time to basic ads and even like your higher up devastators and stuff like that, right? And it's also stunning them at the same time. Now, 2 negatives to that is that it doesn't have any destruction force. So if you throw this into a fabricator, it doesn't blow it up. If you throw it into a Vox, it will blow it up. So something good for Cyborgs. It also has a bit of bouncing. I feel like it's not too much of a negative because once you use it a little bit, it's something that you actually use to your advantage, not disadvantage, but it can be to your disadvantage if you have a teammate that's not paying attention and walks into the bouncing, or maybe you throw it incorrectly and it's like on a slope and it's just bouncing towards you. That has happened. So I really like it. It's actually extremely deadly to your enemies. It could potentially be deadly to you. Be careful. But I really like this thing. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it, and it didn't actually need the 5. It really didn't. It was already good beforehand. I am hoping that Arrowhead does improve the kill counter because I do think there's a lot of kill counter egos out there that kind of discredit it just because they aren't getting a kill counter with it, but it's really good. Highly recommend. Sometimes I just throw like 1 or 2 at a Hulk's feet. It'll outright kill it or just stun lock it for you, but it does outright kill it pretty reliably, which is nice because remember, arc is fairly high pen. All right, next we have the impact grenade. It's continuing to lose muster for me. I would just rather use a high explosive. I'll deal with the delay, just knowing the tech of being able to hold a grenade, wait a couple seconds, then throw it. It makes it a better just impact grenade. Same pen, double the damage with the high explosive. I feel like at this point, impact grenades probably just need to be brought up to very similar damage values of the high explosive, and then you just have a benefit either way. High explosive, a little bit easier to use because there's a cook timer and you can be a little more variable with it. You can wait for it to throw and then you can sit there for a second and blow up. It's less deadly to you. And then impact, more deadly to you. You could accidentally throw it and kill yourself, but the immediacy of it was very appealing at the beginning. Again, if you guys remember, this was the pick at the beginning of the game. So still hoping that the impact gets some love in the near future. Personally, I would rather use the normal incendiary grenade rather than the impact incendiary grenade. I find there's too many instances where I throw the impact incendiary grenade and it either explodes in my face setting me on fire, which sucks, or with weird like geometry and stuff like that. Whereas with like the normal one, it'll bounce and then I can run away. But the second thing is that I find sometimes if you throw it and it accidentally clips an enemy that's too tall, the fire will not spread to the ground. And that's just kind of like a problem with the incendiary impact you got to be careful with. So maybe C is too harsh on it, but you do lose some actual damage similar to the exchange with the impact and high explosive. You do lose some explosive damage to start off, but obviously the fire is the same. But yeah, I think I'm more traditional in the sense that I'd rather have a normal cook grenade and then I can just decide to cook it longer if I need that. Okay. Obviously, also for the sake of this tier list, Vox, normal cook grenade works. Incendiary does kill a Vox machine. These impact grenades do not, or they're very difficult to because you have to like crack open the top one and somehow be tall enough, like using like a jetpack and throw it in and then it like explodes in that area. But for the most part, you're not going to get it. Stun grenades, I still want them to have more. I don't think they're useful enough still. And honestly, we still have a better stun grenade in the sense of like control group because we don't have like any armor to stop us from being stunned. It's kind of disappointing. I still have this like idea in my head that I'd love an armor that would stop me from getting stunned so I could throw a stun at a Hulk, have more than enough time to get behind him and shoot him in the back. But even with this stun grenade, it can be very awkward timing to stun the Hulk, not stun yourself, and then get behind and stun or like shoot the Hulk in the back. The timing is not always the best for you, and it can be pretty awkward. I would like to see more stun grenades, and I'd like to see a longer stun still for me to appreciate the cutting edge stun grenade more. Yeah, still something that I don't really recommend too much, especially when we have, like I said, the arc grenade. All right, first S tier, gas grenades. Just so insanely good at both being a CC stun, right? It's obviously the enemy is going to continue to swing or shoot, but they're going to be so inaccurate. The vast majority of the time, you're fine. Also doing very respectable damage to light and medium enemies. Like Devastators can die to a gas grenade if they sit in it long enough or be extremely weak to it, while also being high enough destruction force that you can actually destroy a fabricator. Unlike the stun grenade, you can't do that with the stun grenade. You can with the gas grenade. Oh, one minor thing. Stun grenades can kill the Vox, just a heads up, Vox engine, but so can the gas grenade. So the gas grenade just kind of has this like immense presence on the battlefield because it lingers, it does great CC, it affects lots of enemies, does very respectable damage. It's just very easy to use. And as far as friendly fire goes, your teammate, if they die to this, they gotta be a dummy. Like they're most likely not gonna die to the gas grenade. So it's also very good for team play as well. There's sometimes where I just throw it at my teammate that's getting rushed by a ton of radicals, and he just manages to walk away, and the radicals are like, what the hell is going on? I can't shoot at this guy anymore. Very useful for those situations. Next, the secret grenades. When I've used them, and from reports, people are telling me a lot of times it's just doing no damage, and it does seem like that. I don't know if it's just like it literally is doing no damage or if it's detonating too early. I'm gonna like put it down in like D tier until like it's probably fixed. I think there's just something wrong with it. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I didn't spend a lot of time with it just because I'm not a huge fan of it in the first place. I think it's very much a gimmicky grenade. It is nice that they improved the AI on it so it tracks flying targets more reliably, which is neat. You know, you could bring this as your anti-gunship, and gunships are more annoying. If they fix this, it's not the most impressive grenade. It would probably be somewhere in C plus B minus if they fix it to do like regular damage, but it just has this proximity detonation that I think reduces its damage quite a bit. It kind of needs to more likely like impact the target that it's trying to go to more often. I think that might be its issue. Not exactly sure. All right, next we have smoke grenades. Honestly, I actually have a great deal more respect for them over time as they've been making enemies stupider and stupider and more likely to lose you in smoke and miss you in smoke, and just in general, excellent stealth tool. Now that we have way more stealth mechanics, you have the armor, you have the guns, it fits better into a play style of like wanting to play stealth and wanting to do objectives without being seen. I'm gonna put it like somewhere middle B because it very much depends on your usage of it and how close to your teammates are and how well they're going to use it or play around it as well. Because smoke grenades can be absolutely S tier if you are fantastic, you are a ghost. If you are Metal Gear Solid as fuck in Helldivers, this thing can be actually be S tier for you just because it's so stealthy, but it could also be D tier for you if you use it and all your teammates are making so much noise, it doesn't really do anything for you or your team, right? So your mileage may vary. It's kind of like a jetpack strategy when I'm trying to place that. It's like you could be a god with it or you could kind of suck with it and you're not going to appreciate it and it's going to suck. So try to practice stealth or use it as a disengage tool, right? I've lost a lot of Hulks chasing after me by just throwing these at my feet and just keep booking it, right? Pop a stim and just keep booking it, throwing these grenades. He will probably lose you after a couple, especially if you round some corners. He won't know where you went, which is pretty funny. Next, we have Thermite. No one's surprised here. Thermites are still the king of like one-shotting Hulks, one-shotting War Striders, killing a tank in one go, 3 to a Vox engine. I typically go for 2 and then try to use something else so I have like a Thermite still around. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll do 2 Thermites, 1 ultimatum. Fantastic way to kill a 100% health Vox engine. You know, you can always go for like throwing these at vents. I have seen clips of people that have thrown it actually at the bottom vent, like not the weak points, but the actual vent that opens up. And what they do is they don't throw it at the top, they throw it like midway down And I think what's happening is like, because it's like an elongated like stick grenade, you're throwing it and sometimes the handle is like poking through the geometry. And I think it's flagging the Vox machine as being, you know, hit by a grenade inside the pouch, and it actually outright kills it. When I've thrown it, it didn't do that for me, but I've seen clips of it happening, so your mileage may vary. You know, let me know in the comments down below. Unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of testing with this because every time I bring the Thermite, I either kill it just the normal way because I don't have an opportunity to kill the vents, or I just forget to test it. But let me know in the comments if this has worked for you. I'd be really curious, but it would be really neat, and it would bring it even higher to S+ tier. You know, just to talk about a little bit more, you can use this for ad clear. The Thermite burning on the ground is actually pretty decent in choke points. It does do respectable damage. If you've ever misthrown a Thermite and it's stuck to you, you'll know how much damage it does. Also, it can destroy fabricators from any angle, which is really nice. Just useful. A little tip for throwing, if you're noticing it bouncing a lot, one little tip that I've noticed is when you're standing and throwing a Thermite, what you'll notice is the Thermite actually leans to the left, like the sticky part, right? The handle goes right, the sticky part goes left. It'll change if you're prone or crouch and so on and so forth, but your character kind of throws it and then it kind of wiggles to the left. What I'd recommend is throw the Thermite on the right side of the enemy, so it's more likely to get hit by the sticky part rather than the handle. Because I think a lot of the times when it's bouncing, it's technically the handle hitting first, and then it just cascades away. Something maybe somewhat anecdotal, but I swear after 3,000 hours, I swear it's a legitimate strategy that works really well for me. But give it a try for yourself. Next, we have the Urchin. I would say it's probably just a better stun grenade in most ways, just because you can kind of stick it to choke points, and then it just keeps stunning over and over again. The radius is not insane, and I don't really find the stickiness to be that useful, but it's just more or less the fact that it just keeps stunning over and over and over again, that it can get a lot of use out of it depending on the scenario you're in. And because you're on Cyberstan, there are those narrow hallways a decent amount, so you might be able to get more out of it. Obviously, throwing at a Vox machine, you're not going to be able to kill it unless you somehow get to the top one and throw it in. Maybe if the Thermite tech works with the Urchin and the handle somehow is clipping through, you might be able to kill it that way, but we'll have to see. Next, we have the throwing knife. I'm not going to put it any higher than D tier. I know some people out there might say otherwise, but it's more of a meme. Its damage is like okay, but it's really hard to hit, you know, those headshots on cyborgs running at you, and you have to throw a lot to kill a cyborg sometimes. It would be neat, you know, when we were using it and just messing around with it yesterday with some randomized loadouts, it would be neat if like Peak Physique buffed it, at least giving it like another like, you know, 50 to 70 or 100% more damage. It would be nice. I think it's just, obviously they need to operate in the realm of realism, of like somewhat realism of like you're throwing a throwing knife at the end of the day. It's not like it's an explosive throwing knife or a gas tip throwing knife, which would be cool, by the way. Yeah, if they ever go back to Viper Commandos, I hope they change the ethos of the throwing knife to just be something more than just a regular throwing knife. They need to give it something, either more damage or a special effect like explosive or gas or something like that. It would help a lot. Ever since seeing the Re-Educator, it's made me want to see like a gas tip one or like a poison tip one. You know what I mean? All right, next we have the Pyrotechnic. Some people might find this super weird, but like it's gonna be S- for me. I freaking love this thing, dude. I use it all the time. Yes, I do think there are better grenades than it, but I think it deserves to be an S tier. You get 6 of them. They are a 3-in-1 grenade. They are an anti-tank grenade, they are an explosive grenade, and an incendiary anti-personnel grenade. All in one, and you get 6 of them, and they can destroy fabricators. Like, it's awesome. I freaking love these things. Like, I have a bot drop in front of me. Oh, a bunch of devastators. All right, toss. A couple seconds later, they're all dead. Next bot drop, toss a bunch out, like 1 per ship. It probably will kill the vast majority or get them extremely weak, because the sparklers, when they're coming out, are doing anti-tank damage, right? Pen 4, and they do a very respectable amount of damage. They like buzz saw, and then it explodes for a good amount of damage, and then it ignites the ground on fire for even more damage. So you could use this as anti-tank versus a Hulk. Usually it takes 2, but you can get lucky and kill 1 in 1 if it like lands perfectly at its feet, spins for the whole duration at its feet, and then lights it on fire. It should fall over. I've seen it happen. If you want to be safe, 2, and it works quite well. The only finicky thing about it is when it elevates itself to do the sprinkler, sometimes it can drift away from the original spot, which does kind of suck, but leads to some amount of like needing to be somewhat accurate with it or throw it very precisely. I love it. Give it a try if you haven't. Master of Ceremony, Warbond, having these is insane. If you guys remember the old meta of killing Factory Strider feet, you know, obviously you could still do that, but it takes way more. Just, dude, this thing's nuts on bots. I highly recommend. I highly recommend. And it's just really nice for throwing at Voxes because you get 6. Pineapple Grenade, it recently got an upgrade from 3 to 4. I still feel like it's a very underwhelming grenade. I'm going to put it C+. My problem mostly with it is that you throw it, it explodes, and then it shoots shrapnel pretty far away, but in a uniform pattern, pretty far away from the original explosion. My problem with that is that there's a lot of gaps created by the way it throws it. So if you don't throw it directly under an enemy that can capture all of the shrapnel and then cause all the explosions in one spot, it just feels kind of bad to use, and you feel like you often need to throw multiple in order to get the destruction of maybe like a dynamite, right? I kind of wish there was just more projectiles, even if they reduced the damage per projectile, but it turned it into like a mini like eagle cluster bomb. That's what I want from the pineapple. I want it to kind of give this like impression that it's like you're throwing a mini eagle cluster bomb at the enemies and it just like a bunch of little explosions, you know, after the initial one. But it doesn't feel like that. It's like a uniform sprinkler of like shrapnel, but if the enemies aren't sitting exactly where the shrapnel's landing, it kind of feels very lackluster. You know what it reminds me of when I've been talking about it on stream? It reminds me of the airburst rocket launcher, where sometimes it can absolutely pop off and it like perfectly lands on a bunch of enemies and it gives you a bunch of kills. And other times you throw it and it like all the enemies somehow manage to find all the gaps and it does like next to no damage. So the reliability of it is quite low, I find. The damage potential is very high if you can get it all to like blow up in one spot, but I'll be honest, it doesn't happen all that often. You're not on the bug front. Like on the bug front, it can be more often because you can actually throw it under a charger and it can kind of capture all of it, but that doesn't really happen nearly as much on the bot front. So yeah, I don't know. Disappointing. Still disappointing. I think it needs a little bit of redesign for me to really appreciate it, I guess. Next, we have Impact Smoke. Impact Smoke is going to be lower into the C tier, in my opinion, mostly down to the fact that you can't kill Vox engines with it, but you can with the normal frag grenade. Both perform, to my eye, the exact same. You just get a more instantaneous smoke cloud out of the impact. For some people, I'm sure you appreciate that more for stealth gameplay. It's like a, oh shit, panic smoke, you know, like you're a magician on the stage in Vegas, you know, disappearing in front of an automaton patrol. But I often find that I'd rather have the utility of the smoke grenade, especially versus Vox engines. If you need to just go under it, shoot the one at the bottom, shoot the two back fence, throw it inside and just keep moving, I really like that for the smoke frag grenade. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm probably being a bit too harsh on it, but like still, I think because of the Vox engine utility, the normal smoke grenade does have a benefit there. Next, we have the Lure Mine. I think the Lure Mine is just a solid A tier pick. Really good anti-tank. It's actually extremely similar damage to Dynamite, but with the Lure Mine, you get the utility of enemies walk towards it instead of you, and you get shrapnel from the actual explosion itself. Dynamite has a larger explosion radius than the Lure Mine, but they have the exact same damage. But the Lure has that, I think it's like 35 pieces of shrapnel or something like that come out of it that are, you know, medium pen, so they're not anti-tank, but, you know, can do some sizable damage to a group of Devastators or something along those lines. Can't throw that far. Technically, you can throw it inside of a Vox machine if, you know, or sorry, a Vox engine, if you manage to get the, you know, angle correct. It would be difficult and you might kill yourself in the process, but you could technically do it, but it's difficult. Yeah, I think it's a cool, really cool grenade. I'm going to put an A tier. I think it has a lot of utility to it. You could kill fabricators with it, either by throwing it on the outside just because of the AT, or you could throw it in the vent. Very difficult, but you can do it. But yeah, give this thing a try if you haven't already. It's surprisingly effective versus Hulks. Be aware though, Hulks will sometimes eat like 2 or 3 of these. I don't know what's happening. I think it's just blowing up early or something like that. You kind of want the Hulk to be like standing over it or like almost step over it. And the reason why you have it like step over it is because it's then like actually able to do extra damage to the heatsink possibly, which is pretty nice. All right, next and finally, we have the star of the show, the shield generator. Where is it gonna go? Oh, you already know. This thing is S tier. It's so insane for keeping you alive. I don't always bring it, and because there are other S tier options for the automaton front, but I bring it often and I love it. It's just so much fun for using for objectives, for a surprise bot drop on top of you. Devastators do be hitting, dude. Now that they buffed the accuracy, especially when there's lots of automatons around, I feel like I'm getting pelted way more often by enemies, especially those agitators, dude. Their little like laser pistols are insanely accurate. I feel like their hit chance on me at like less than like 30 meters is probably like 60-70%. I'm always getting plinked by them. So it's really useful to just be able to throw these down reliably and just save yourself a bunch of stims. Now, obviously, it kind of depends on how good you are at shooting back at the enemy. You know, if you can make great use of shooting back at the enemy, you won't really miss the fact that you're losing a gas grenade or pyrotechnic grenade or like an arc grenade or something like that. But if you're having trouble killing enemies in the time it takes for your shield to like soak up damage, you may not appreciate it as much. Also, if you're not preemptively throwing this down regularly, you're not going to feel like it's that good. You can reactively kind of throw it down, but it is definitely better if you proactively like, oh shoot, this guy's going to shoot at me, throw down a shield, then take it on the fight. I also love doing this for using with the leveler. Obviously, maybe you've seen the clip on the channel. Throw down the shield, leveler the thing in front of you, and just survive because the shield eats the explosion and then you're totally fine untouched. That's pretty funny. And you can do this with a lot of explosives out there. Didn't work with hell bombs. Hell bombs went right through it, but a lot of explosives work quite well with it. So yeah, I really like it. Objective clearing, Vox engines, you can survive a Vox engine if you can, you know, hide in this thing before it starts laser cannoning with it, which is nice. And you can kill a Vox engine with it. I'm not sure if my editor has the clip of it, but you can snake it in to the vent when it opens up as well. The lower one and the upper one if you get high enough for that one as well. So really like the shield grenade. It's awesome. I don't like it as much on other fronts. I don't think I get nearly as much usage out of it. And I find myself really wanting the other grenades, but man, is it fun against bots. Highly recommend. All right. So that's the tier list here. Do I want to make any changes? I feel kind of bad for being so harsh on the pineapple, but I guess to some extent, I'm putting it down here in hopes that maybe it'll receive some changes. Maybe being a bit too harsh on the standard stun grenade just because you can stun a large degree of, I almost said arc, playing a lot of ArcRaiders, of Devastators and Hulks and so on and so forth. And it can actually kill a Vox engine if you throw it inside. So I'm gonna bring the normal stun grenade up a little higher. I do respect the stun for it, and it can be quite nice of getting you out of some pinches versus radicals and stuff like that. So I'm gonna put that there. Regular smoke grenade, or sorry, the impact smoke grenade, I'm gonna put C+, a little bit higher. Yeah, I think I feel pretty damn good about where everything is. Yeah. All right, I'm going to end with this. So if you guys have any comments, what's your S tier? What do you bring in all the time? I want to know, how does this land for you guys? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, check out the stream, Maplewood_TV, both on Twitch and YouTube. 3 a.m. EST to about noon EST is when I usually stream. That's 9 a.m. Central European time to about 6 p.m. Central European time for those in Europe. Yeah, come on by, talk to me about it. We've been playing a ton of Helldivers as of late, obviously because of this update, and we're going to continue to until Cyberstan falls and we have the plans that they stole. Also, check out the Discord link down below and other tier lists as well. Let me know if there's any other videos you'd like to do. I think the next video that I really want to make is just a loadout video. We've now had about a week with Cyberstan, and I want to like talk about like my favorite loadouts. I'm thinking like maybe 3, 4, 5 loadouts that I, you know, have been gravitating towards and I am recommending to people just to help us with that push to Cyberstan. I kind of did that on day one, but I want to put like a more concrete build guide video out for you guys. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out, YouTube. Bye.